Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul. Hopefully you're having an amazing day. I'm going to kick this video off with a discussion of both the 6700 and RX 6700 XT. As the name implies, these are lower end SKUs in the RDNA 2 lineup, although it remains to be seen whether we'll see 6600 and below SKUs coming in the future. And these GPUs will naturally compete against Nvidia's mid-range, such as the RTX 3060 Ti and other such GPUs. Now, according to the website Cutland, we will not see these cards launch until March. Well, launch is an ambitious statement given the shortage of graphics cards we've seen at the moment, but perhaps this is one of the reasons that we're seeing the delay. I'd actually reported last year that the target release date for the 6700 series was actually going to be January. In fact, there was a very good chance we were going to see them at CES. Now, I'm guessing this, but given the shortages we're seeing in product parts, in fact, we're going to discuss some price hikes in a moment with ASUS as well as other AIBs, given as well the manufacturing constraints we're seeing with TSMC and the 7nm process, this is possibly one of the reasons that AMD have decided to somewhat hold back the launch. The 6700 though just shaves things down just a little bit, so it features 36 compute units, and both GPUs too will feature GDDR6 memory on 192-bit bus with 12 gigabytes of memory. Now, this is probably one of the reasons that Nvidia are reshuffling a lot of its product stack at the moment, and we'll get into Nvidia products in just a moment. But long story short, there are a lot of cards that Nvidia are going to be refreshing / releasing, and they do actually feature a lot more VRAM than what Nvidia did launch originally at. So obviously this pressure from AMD has had a really great impact on the market. It's going to be interesting to see what we see these cards priced at, of course, when they finally hit store shelves. And ultimately, that's kind of the thing right now because, yeah, prices are kind of going ballistic. And you know what, I really want to discuss this story that's been floating around regarding ASUS. Now, as you are almost certainly aware, there have been a lot of factors which have just made life miserable, whether you're a console gamer or whether you're, a PC gamer or anywhere in between. And those are, and certainly not limited to the, global, pandemic that's been going on, GPU mining as well. There's obviously manufacturing and supply shortages. And yeah, tariffs have also started to come into play. And yeah, it's just an absolutely miserable time. It's basically the perfect storm. So ASUS has recently put out a statement, and we'll read it now, and then we can kind of get into this. So the source of this actually originates from ASUS DIY, and I'd like to give courtesy credit to videocards.com for this discovery. I'm going to read this quote verbatim. It's from ASUS's technical product marketing manager, so it's with some good heft that this quote has been put out. Update regarding MSRP pricing for ASUS components in 2021. This update applies to both graphics cards and motherboards. We have an announcement in regards to MSRP pricing changing in the effective early 2021 for our award-winning series of graphics cards and motherboards. Our new MSRP reflects increasing costs in components, operating costs, logistical activities, plus continuation of import tariffs. We work closely with our supply and logistic partners to minimize price increases. ASUS greatly appreciates your continued business and support as we navigate through this time of unprecedented market changes. The caveat, by the way, is additional models may see an increase as we move further into Q1. They've also, that is videocards.com, done a nice job at compiling the pricing here. And I mean, I'll let you guys read some of these, but I'll just give a couple of highlights. The ROG Strix RTX 3090 24GB white is now $2,100 US. And while that is an owie, definitely, I think it's actually better to look at the lower end products because I think that's probably more representative of kind of how it actually hurts consumers even more. And that, the cheapest RTX 3060 Ti is now $500 US. Now, I want to say right off the bat, I do suspect many other AIBs are going to follow the similar steps to ASUS here. But just looking at the price of that RTX 3060 Ti, the 3060 Ti is an amazing card. You know, we reviewed it on the channel, and I genuinely think that card is amazing because it's almost the same speed as the RTX 3070, albeit $100 cheaper. But now you're losing the performance of the 3070, you're still getting the 3060 Ti, and you're paying the same price. Now, the good news is, and well, yeah, I say good news in a very loose term. Hopefully, Nvidia don't crank the price up of the Founders Edition model, and maybe some of the cheaper brands will keep their prices down. But yeah, I mean, honestly, you can probably tell I'm a little bit annoyed about this, just from my mannerism. Yeah, just honestly, this is so frustrating. And I'm saying this as well as someone who actually gets products to review, because it's like I love technology, guys. I love technology, but it's so frustrating. Like I got sent a 5950X from AMD over the Christmas period for review, and I'd already bought a 5900 just for your FYI, like out of my own money. Um, and yeah, I bought it and I'm still in like position, what, 600 or something like that? No, I'm lying to you. I'm like position 650, I think, in queue. So I do know how frustrating it is. Like I'm very privileged and fortunate to be sent this hardware, but I'm not sent everything by any stretch of the imagination. You know, the channel's still nowhere near as big as some, I don't know, Linus Tech Tips, for example. But I do feel quite privileged to get any hardware, but it's still frustrating. Like I bought the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and I was bloody lucky to get it. I didn't, there was no forethought really for me to get, let's say, the PS5. I just happened to go onto the website and it was on pre-order. It was that simple. It was like blind luck. It was that, just like that, blind luck. So I know how frustrating it is, and the price is going up as well. It feels honestly like a double whammy. And mining now becoming so much more lucrative. Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't blame people for just saying, screw it, I'm out for a while. And I have friends, even quite wealthy friends as well, who can cough up the money. Like, I actually have friends who could easily afford, like, 10 5950Xs, even on scalper prices. They're fairly well off. And they're just like, you know what? I'm not. I'm just done. I'm going to wait and see what happens with Alder Lake or, AMD in the future. But for now, I'm just kind of done. I've got a decent processor. I think one of them's 9900K or something like that, which obviously is still a pretty damn good chip. So I'm just curious, like, what do you think about this? Are you just going to kind of deal with it? Are you going to just buy like cheaper cards? Are you going to just hope that Nvidia and AMD offer um, cards such as the Founders Edition? Now, that is another thing too. I do feel that the presence of the FE cards from Nvidia, as well as, of course, reference cards from AMD, which of course you can purchase from their website when they're available, does help the situation a little bit. And honestly, I love like the really custom cards. I think they're amazing. Like the Gaming X Trio, for example, from MSI is great, and ASUS just makes stellar boards, and yeah, they're awesome. But I'm not convinced that I would cough up this amount more for a custom card, because then it gets kind of ridiculous. I I have a lot more to say about this topic, honestly, but I kind of want to put my thoughts together because I'm already getting a little bit frustrated. So I think it might be better for me to kind of see how the chips uh, fall over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, we get some statements from Nvidia and AMD, which would provide some, how can I put this, reassurance that their prices are going to remain consistent, because that would be good. And also, if another company such as BioStar or a Gigabyte or whomever put out some statements to say that they have cheaper cards, but ultimately some of this is kind of out of the hands of the manufacturers. For example, the tariffs, which have been kind of part and parcel of the US at the moment, with that, prices are cranking up, and yeah, it's just, as I said, earlier on, just kind of coming back full circle. It's basically just the perfect storm. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic, and that's actually Intel and the XE GPUs. I know that Intel have not done exactly everything that gamers had hoped for. I definitely understand that. But I think competition is so important, and perhaps even more now than ever. Um, I can't help but feel that Intel, if they had Rocket Lake on the store shelves and they also had their discrete GPUs available, I'm not saying it would alleviate shortages by any stretch of the imagination, because the reality is the TAM, the total available market right now, is just ginormous. Because if you're a miner, you don't necessarily care if you're spending, I don't know what the markups are on cards at the moment, to be honest. They just fluctuate all of the time. But last time I looked, like the 3080, I think was going for like 1200 or like 1100 on like eBay. That's US dollars, just to be clear. So yeah, a miner, okay, that's still a lot of money and it does eat into their profits, but ultimately because, Ethereum mining or whatever is so damn lucrative at the moment, they can kind of make do with that. Anyway, getting back to the topic itself, if I think Intel did have their products available, it might help. And so we actually have now a leak of the Intel Xe GPU. I'd also like to give courtesy credit yet again for videocards.com, and we actually have driver entries. So this does seem to, well, basically confirm, assuming this is not incorrect and it's not screw up on the drivers, that we are going to be seeing 512 execution units on the Xe HPG card, which is obviously a DG2. And you can read the drive entries yourself, so I won't read them out because, well, they're kind of dry to say, but the end part is perhaps the most telling. DG2 512 SKU, and there's also a DG2 128 SKU. This would mean 4096 graphics cards, and it's also worth noting that Intel have confirmed that we're starting to see tape outs of select variants, and also they're going to be utilizing an external foundry as well. At least that's what seems to be happening with some of their products, including GPUs. I don't know what the performance of these cards is going to be like, honestly. I'm hearing everything from they're really decent and they're competing with something between the 3070 and 3080 to they absolutely are terrible and that they are very power hungry and that they really shouldn't come to market. And I don't know where the truth lies, because I've had two really good sources tell me both versions quite recently, and then I've also had someone who's more down the middle. So I'm like, I don't know at this point. My guess is that it's going to be a question as well of the drivers and support. Now, I do think that Lisa Pierce and others in working at Intel are very driven, and I think that Intel's iGPU drivers have done a pretty damn great job. I think Intel's Graphics Command Center, I think it's called, has really come leaps and bounds. And yeah, it's kind of one of those things where they have, technically speaking, the resources to do it. And I think that they've got the talent to do it. It's just, and I know I've said this many times now with Intel, it's whether they can come together and kind of do this like cohesive unit thing. Like, yeah, that's really my concern. I want them to be in the market so damn bad because I just feel that we need it. Like, I'm so grateful that AMD are offering RDNA 2 because I can't imagine how awful it would be. It's bad enough already, but imagine if we didn't have a decent Radeon product too in the upper echelons. That would really suck. That would really be a kick in the shin. But as it is, hopefully anyway, Intel will put out a product which is damn good, and we can only wait, honestly. Okay, gang, you know what we need? We need more RTX 30 products, don't we? Well, don't worry, Nvidia have you covered. And there's a couple of different leaks actually concerning this, and I want to begin first of all with Kopity7 Kimmy. And he created, oh, I'm assuming it's a he, they created a tweet, and you know what, I'm going to just show it and read it. So he said, and I quote, "I really don't know their real names, GA102 20GB with R6X memory, GA102 12GB, and then of course you've got the GA103 10GB. There's a couple of different variants of that. There's also a 106, and there's a 12GB and a 106 6GB. And then he adds at the end, what a mess." Now, if you do a quick Google of GA102, you will notice, of course, if you didn't already know, that it is the GPU core which is found in the RTX 3080, for example. So it seems like there's either, I mean, this is assuming this information is correct and I cannot confirm it, but if this is true, we're going to be seeing a 12 gigabyte version of an RTX 3080 type of card. So what, would that be the super derivative? Would that be the super? Or the TI or what? No, wait, the TI would... Now, even I'm getting confused. So we've got the RTX... Yeah, hang on. 1 second. Yeah, so you've got the RTX 3080 vanilla. I'm going to call it vanilla so that I don't go insane. So the vanilla will have 10 gigabytes of memory. The RTX 3080 Ti, which remember is basically the 3090, albeit with a slightly changed memory bus, that has, of course, 320-bit with 20 gigabytes of memory. So that's the Ti. And then I assume the 3080 Super will be this 12 gigabyte card, which we can presume will have a wider bus, 384-bit. So that will be the same bus width as the RTX 3090, but the capacity of the RAM will be half. That sounds kind of what they're doing. I mean, at a guess, and yeah, you can kind of go through the rest of the specifications yourself. That's just absolutely weird. It obviously is just the fact that they are refreshing the cards, and we've heard about this previously. But furthermore, they are also releasing the RTX 3060 Ultra. Yeah, that's right, I said Ultra. Now, this information comes courtesy of wccftech.com. So, like everything else, I will, of course, link it in the video description. So, yeah, you might remember Ultra as a brand, well, I guess a kind of naming scheme, which had been around like back in the day. They were using this for like the GeForce 2 cards. But yeah, now they're using it again, and I kind of like the term Ultra, which makes me wonder as well whether the 3080 is going to be like the 3080 Ultra rather than the 3080 Super. But regarding the 3060 Ultra, it's said to be more powerful than the 3060 Ti, and it's also said to have 12 gigabytes of memory and also slightly more expensive. So it's going to cost you $449 US. So that's a $50 US premium over the RTX 3060 Ti. So that could be quite a compelling card, but then it makes me wonder what the difference is between it and the RTX 3070. Because, you know, the 3060 Ti, as I discussed earlier, it performs really close to the RTX 3070. In fact, in our tests, I wouldn't say there's no difference by any stretch of the imagination, but you're not really going to miss the frame rate difference, in my opinion. I basically said in my review that I think that the 3060 Ti largely makes the 3070 redundant. It's not a bad card by any stretch of the imagination. I just felt that for $100, if it were my cash, I would prefer to have thrown it down on the RTX 3060 Ti, especially as both have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. But now this has, of course, more VRAM. It's got 12 gigabytes. And yeah, as always, we can only wait and see what Nvidia and all of these other companies will announce. I'm very curious to see if some of the other older, if you can even call some of these cards older, I guess the established Ampere cards, whether they're going to become end of line or phased out, or whether they're going to exist on store shelves and there's going to be a very small price difference between them, which could be another way to go. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not necessarily against it. Being serious for a moment, I'm actually okay with a re-release or a refresh of the products because, ultimately it does mean that we as customers get better choice and better products and availability. So that's always a good thing. And it doesn't seem like we're going to see Lovelace, because this is a question I've been asked quite a lot. What about the release date of Lovelace? Well, honestly, I don't think we're going to see Lovelace release anytime soon. I think it's going to be end of this year at best. I'm saying that without inside information though, so if it's released in 4 weeks' time, don't come with the pitchforks. But I don't think we're going to see it. I would be shocked if it was before like the end of Q3, and realistically, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's kind of Q4 or even Q1 next year. And then of course Hopper is supposedly after that. That's assuming though Hopper actually is for GeForce cards. Maybe that's only for professional usage. Lovelace is said to be absolutely insane though, as we recently discussed, with like over 70% additional CUDA cores, which is just absolutely ballistic. But yeah, Welcome to computing in 2021, everyone. With all of that said, thank you very much for watching the video. Take care of yourself. Have an amazing day. If you've enjoyed it, of course, subscribe to the channel because we're trying to push now towards 100,000. It's actually kind of insane that we are so close. It's like I'm just looking at the sub counter like, what the hell? There's so many people subscribe. It's kind of freaky, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone as we've reached another milestone now, 88,000 subs. So thanks very much to everyone who has subscribed, and I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.